What's up, guys? So in this video, we're going to talk about aliens. No, I'm joking. We will at the very, very end. Want to waste your guys' time. So this video here, we'll talk about the recent Fed hike, where I think the economy is going, and yeah, we'll just get into it from there. And at the end, we'll talk a little bit about aliens. You know, we got time here, so let's do this. So obviously, the Fed just raised a quarter basis point. It's reading through. Rutgers right now, and it's like this is the highest it's been since 2007, right? So this is the highest the benchmark has been, and Powell has left the door open to raise it another quarter basis points in September. So they're not meeting in August. It looks like they're meeting in for the possible hike in September. So first off, excuse me if I'm underplaying your intelligence or anything like that, but a lot of people don't understand what the Fed rate is, and they don't whatever. So I'm trying to make content to educate as many people as possible to try to make the best educated decision that they can for their own financial future. So I'm just going to explain a little bit about it, okay? Not to waste breath or time here, but essentially the Fed rate is the rate that all banks pay. So, you know, your local bank or even JP Morgan, you know, the big four, Bank of America, Citi, all those guys, when they want excess capital, they have to go to the Federal Reserve and say, we need to borrow $100 million, $20 million. They're going to pay that discount rate, or that Fed rate, which is today at 4.25, or I say 4.25, I'm so dumb, 5.25 or 5.5. So the bank's going to go, they're going to borrow $100 million. They're going to pay that 5.25% rate. And obviously, in order for the bank to make profit, they're going to have to lend above the 4.25. That's how they make money. Now, before banks go to the Federal Reserve and borrow money, they like to use their own money, e.g., or actually known as, aka, your money. So the money that we're depositing into the bank, right, whatever bank it is, they like to take that money and lend it out first. Then when they start running low on that money, then they'll go to the Federal Reserve and borrow at 5.25%. And that's why banks right now are offering a high yield on when, you know, you park at their savings, you know, they'll offer you 4%. Some will offer 5 because they're like, we're going to be able to borrow it from the regular people at 5, and we'll be able to lend it out. And all the bank has to do with your money and with everything, they have to keep a fraction of that on hand in order for us to do our, you know, if I deposit $100,000 at the bank really only needs to hold $10,000 because I'm probably not going to pull the whole 100 out, right? It's just moving here and there. The other 90 they'll lend out, and then they'll earn more money on that because they don't owe anybody that 5%, right? And so the reason why I'm saying all this, I want you guys to understand why the banks are raising rates, why all this is going up a lot higher. When you see this number, oh, the Fed rate's only 5.25. Why are commercial loans at 9% now? It's like, why can't banks just charge 1% above what the Fed does? Well, you still got to run an operation. You still got to pay your employees to do underwriting, to do everything. And on top of that, surprise, surprise, but not every loan gets paid back. So they need to make more. They need to charge like 2 to 3% above. So, you know, my banker said they love to charge 4% above to make sure they're safe, to be able to pay their employees, factor in the loans that are going to be no good, and still be able to make a profit. Because at the end of the day, they're a bank, they want to make money. So that's a little backstory on how that works. And it's important because in my eyes, I don't think nothing is going to change until unemployment goes up. Here's why. My thesis, and I could be, guys, I'm just a guy talking crap, just like the homies hanging out, right? This is not financial advice or anything like that. This is what I think and how I'm operating and why I'm buying deals at a certain rate or a certain way is because I love to mitigate the downside risk as much as possible. So the reason why I'm looking at unemployment, it's very rudimentary economics, like very basic economics. So essentially, if a bunch of people get unemployed, they're probably not going to go out and spend a bunch of money because they're like, shoot, I'm unemployed. Let me take a step back, look at the classifieds, go on, ZipRecruiter or Monster, LinkedIn, whatever, try to find a job, get back on my feet. If you get enough of those people unemployed, the consumption around everything goes down a bit and allows supply to catch up. And that's when true prices fall. And then we get a new base. And from there, we also get a slowdown in the economy, because the only reason people are being unemployed is because the business is not making enough money to continue their employment. And why would that happen? That would happen because when a commercial business runs on 3, 5, and 7 year arms, which are amortizations, right? So every 3 years, every 5 years, every 7 years, whatever debt the business has, they need to be able to refinance it. And also, whatever equipment a business might need, they're buying at current rates, which might be or are a lot higher. So when a business, like if you owned a, let's just say a coffee shop, and you bought the building and you bought all the coffee shop equipment, and you borrowed at like a 5% rate in 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, you're in 2023. You're about, and usually it's 3 years, 5 years, or 7, usually 5 years is the average. So you're about ready for that coffee shop. You're about ready to refinance. Let's just say your payment was $2,000, hypothetically, and you borrowed at like 4.5%, 5%. When you go to your commercial banker and that debt renews, yeah, your payment's been paid down a little bit, everything happens, but you are still going to have to now pay a 9% rate. You don't get a fixed rate. Your payments are going to double. If you don't have money to put into the loan to bring the cost down, you're going to have to pay that price. And if you can't generate enough income to make the payments, you're going to have to walk away from the business. Or you look around and you say, you know what? We have 3 employees. We only need 2. We can make it work because I can't make the payments. So this person is let go. And the business, hopefully, God's will, survives. But when and this happens across all industries, right? It's going to happen with restaurants. It's going to happen with farms. It's going to happen with gas stations. It's going to happen with just everything across the board. Because the 3, 5, and 7 year arm isn't mutually exclusive to one thing. It's just the economy overall. It's just, this is the new world that we all live in. So when those businesses tighten their belts and they start letting people go and people become unemployed, when people become unemployed, they're not going to be spending as much. When they're not spending as much, there's less things sold. So there's less people going to the coffee shop. So maybe the owner of the coffee shop now has to unemploy or fire somebody else. So now there's only the owner and one person when there used to be 3. And as you can see, it starts spiraling. Like, oh my God, the coffee shop owner, is he going to make it? Right? And it's not just the coffee shop owner. It's going to be a lot of businesses across the board. I can tell you, we'll talk a little bit about my insurance business that I've started. It's rough out there. Insurance has gone up like crazy. I am also feeling it like, man, I can't win quotes. Or even my customers that are like, hey, can you beat this? And I'm like, I can't come close. But their policy is up 50%. It's just, everyone's being pinched everywhere. And this is kind of what you see in this type of down cycle. Well, what's going to save us? Because eventually, if another coffee shop employee is fired and that person can't go out and spend, and if they don't have a job, they're not going to come get coffee. Eventually, is the coffee shop shut down? Like, does everything just go to zero? No, everything finds a base. There's that solid, consistent business. It's called, in business terms, getting lean. You're running very lean. You trim all the fat, and you're just delivering exactly what the customer needs. There's not really a whole lot of room for innovation. There's not really a whole lot of room for growth. You're just like, money in, money out, a little bit of profit. We're surviving. We're just holding on tight. What happens here? What happens now? What happens when that cycle? That cycle has to work its way through. It's not just going to be, and everything is high and everything's done. We just talked about a coffee shop that opened in 2019. What about the coffee shop that opened in 2020 or 2021 during COVID? Those coffee shops, those businesses are all going to next year have to go through the refinance, right? Or if I'm sorry if my numbers are off, if it was 2018, 2019, 2021, 2022, 2023, right? Then the next year's 2019 businesses and the next year's 2020 businesses. You get what I'm trying to say. Don't hold me accountable for one date. I'm sorry I was off by a number. But essentially, all those things have to work through the economy. It's not just overnight. It works through it. And as it works through it, every business is going to have to make its cuts. Every business is going to realize, like, are we going to be able to stay in business? Do we have money on the side we could inject? Can we stay alive? Can we just make it through this cycle? And that's what it is, guys. It's a cycle. And this cycle is probably going to last us, if I had to put my guesstimate hat on, 24 months. The reason why I make that predicament, I feel like in January it started. I feel like January to January, this coming January, we're going to start feeling the pain. Then I also feel like there's nothing the Fed could do because they're in a hard spot. Because if they cut rates right now and please everybody, inflation is just going to go through the roof. And that's very, very bad for our nation. It's very, very bad for any society, because when inflation goes through the roof, if you had $100,000 saved in the bank, your $100,000 isn't going to be worth shit, because when inflation goes up, your money is worth less, because you have to spend more of your money to buy more of the goods you need. So that becomes a problem in itself. The Fed doesn't want to do that. And I don't think they should do that. I think if you have $100,000 saved, you should have an opportunity to grow wealth. And the only way that you're going to have a chance to go up the societal ladder is if there is a slight downturn and you can buy something at a fair price, and then you get to play the game and you get to make a decision and you get to grow. If the Fed just always saves the day, how are we ever going to get a chance to buy something at a fair price? Everything is always going to be at a premium or out of reach. It's just the truth that nobody wants to admit. We kind of need the down cycle. Anyways, January to January, we'll feel the pain. And then from the start of the January till the end of next January, through the presidential cycle, we have to go through it. And that's just because it's going to take that time to run through the loans, to see the unemployment spike, to see things kind of settle down. I'm sorry, guys. It's just the way it timed up. Once this new president or President Biden retakes office, you're also going to have a lot of things culminating at that moment in time. You're going to have a new 100 days by either Biden or somebody else. You're going to want, you're at the tail end of, or you are pretty much at the end of inflation coming down. But at that point, you would have worked through a couple of years of refinances at higher rates, and whoever survived, whoever didn't. And at that point, you would, say, hey, we need to bring down this, even the Fed will say, okay, we looked around, inflation has came down, we have met our goal, and you're going to see rates get cut. And when its rate gets cut, that's when a business will say, this is my chance. Maybe I'll buy that. The coffee guys, like, maybe I'll find a new, I could hire a part-time guy. I refinance my loan, right? It's been 2 years. I waited. I got it done right now. Biden reclaimed office, or he's out of office. I'm in. I go back to the bank and I say, hey, no, I don't really usually do this, but, I want to, I know I'm like 4 years away or 3.5 years away from refinancing, or maybe he doesn't, but the business that was going to refinance now gets a way lower rate than it did, and it saved the job. It saved the job of that person getting fired. And then the next year, it saved that job again. And as those jobs start getting saved, they still are able to continue. Now the economy starts leveling out, and we cut even a little bit more, and now business is making money. And then maybe that guy, that's a whole another year later than the coffee guy that first originally renewed. He's 3 years in, he goes to his bank, says, bro, please cut me a break. Or he goes to another bank and says, This rate is too high. Refinance me. Bam, he refinances. He gets a little bit of money, and he's like, I'm going to put it back into the business. Let's get another employee going. Let's run some Google ads. Let's give a free cup of coffee for anyone that comes in. Let's get this thing booming, baby. And boom, we're off to the races again, and we grow higher. And that's the expectation. That's the expectation. Now, this is such a strange market because we do have a lot of money that Biden spent right when he came in on, infrastructure. So it's probably going to be able to keep a lot more people employed because that money, when Congress signed that bill and the Senate approved it, or the Congress made it, Senate approved it, President signed it, that money is still working its way through a system alongside this downturn. And that's what makes it hard for me to judge really where is a bottom and how high can rates go. Because what rates are really trying to do is snap. They're trying to break the back of inflation. And you can only do that by breaking demand for goods and services. And you can only do that, in my opinion, by having unemployment up. I don't see a scenario where we could keep very high employment and inflation will naturally come down. I guess if tech comes in, and we could figure out a way to get our supply chains right and we, start supplying more and whatever. But I just don't see businesses making that investment while rates are as high as they are. And it's still astounding to me that the economy is doing what it's doing with these rates being as high as they are. Now, I will say this. Main Street feels it before Wall Street does. It's kind of always been the case. And if you could ask anybody that's in the trucking business, they'll tell you they're getting slaughtered. And that's because freight prices have gone down. That's why it was important last Friday, when I posted Yellow Jacket went bankrupt, because it just strictly cannot keep going. And to me, that's the canary in the coal mine. And if you don't understand that analogy, the canary is a bird that coal miners used to bring into the deep, dark tunnels. And before the tunnels started collapsing, the bird would start chirping. It'd be like, what? When you hear the bird chirp, don't go, what? Run for the doors, run for the sunlight, get the hell out. And to me, the canary in the coal mine, I rely on trucking a lot, or the indicators of trucking, or just like where freight's at, how much it's moving, is because there has to be demand for things to be moving. That means things are being sold and bought. That's why you have trucks moving. When trucks start slowing down, it's an indicator that the economy is kind of slowing down. For the most part. It's just one. You can't just pick one indicator. There has to be multiple indicators that you pick that kind of paint a broader picture. But I've always kind of looked to that as well. And I feel like, I'll give a personal story. I have a friend of mine whose trucking company is shutting down, and they had a contract with Big Lots. And, Big Lots just went to their whole thing where they sold off their land and they injected capital back into the business to save themselves, but yet they're slowing down product coming to their store. So what does that tell you is Wall Street has a little bit of avenues that it could, try to survive longer. That's why you don't see an immediate crash. Versus Main Street, which is like, if you have a trucking company, you're getting this much in, that much going out. If more is going out than is coming in, you're at a loss. You can only survive for so long. You're done. You can't go buy a bond or refinance or whatever. You're done, son. You're done. And that's always been the disconnect. That's why Main Street always hurts first before Wall Street. But Wall Street is a product of Main Street, right? Like every single thing we buy, every single thing we do, those profits go to corporations or they go to individuals. And eventually, once individuals stop consuming Coke as much because they're not going out, they stop, going to McDonald's, or they stop whatever, and that consumption goes down. Wall Street will feel it too. It's just a lag. And how much of a lag is it? I say probably about January, end of the year. That's when you're really going to start feeling the pain and the pressure. And remember, the stock market right now is kind of propped up by 6-7 stocks. Majority of the stocks are still beating the hell up. And I don't think we've seen the worst of it. And that's a whole different conversation, because they also have debt just like any other business. And a lot of these guys have taken out a lot of debt, and some of those companies' debt is coming for renewal. And it's no different than me and you at the coffee shop or Big Bad Wall Street company. Everyone has to pay their debts. The Lannisters always pay their debts. There's only a handful of Lannisters out there. Everybody else, you got to make things work. Otherwise, you're going to have to cave. So all of this being said, I've said all this just to get you like a better understanding of like what's going on and why. I mean, I hope it helped. I hope it made sense. But the truth of the matter is what the hell does this mean for you? How can we, this sounds dirty, the dirty word profit, but how can we prepare? How about that? How can we seize the opportunity? And really, guys, I mean, it's a lie if I sit here and tell you, this is the time, do this, this is going to happen. We don't know. For all we know, like this moment right now on, what is this, July 27th, when I'm recording this in 2023, this was the bottom, and the deals you see in the market right now are going to be steals. And it doesn't go lower here. That's a possibility. It could get a lot worse from here. That's also a possibility. It's like, what do you think is going to happen? You got to kind of use your brain power and, your localized market. If you're looking to buy real estate, if you're looking to buy stocks, you got to use your intuition, your knowledge, your edge in that industry, in that whatever, to make that determination. Me personally, I feel we still have a little bit lower to go. I don't think we're going to go dramatically lower than where we are right now. I don't think, because capital is still moving. Banks are still giving loans. People are still sitting on a lot of cash. We are still going to be able to get things done. When situations get really dire is when capital markets freeze. The bank doesn't really want to loan on that business that you're trying to buy. The mortgage company doesn't really want to lend on that house, even if you're putting 30% down. That's when things get scary. And those are very short periods of time. It's because there's major, major uncertainty, and eventually things come to an equilibrium. The price meets where it needs to be. And that might be a 10% decline. That might be a 15% decline. But my question to you is, why are we so obsessed with getting the bottom? If we are investing for our futures, we are making a strong prediction that whatever the price that is we're paying today, if we're buying something good, we believe it's going to be worth more the next year, the year after than it is today. We should probably buy it if we're in the position to buy it. Of course, a cost basis matters. Of course, it matters if you bought something for $1 million versus you bought it for $500,000. Of course, it matters, but it's not the end of the world. And my point in saying all that is you got to do your own homework, and you got to get comfortable with what you think is a respectable return for you. You got to pencil out the deal and see, okay, insurance might go up 10%. My payment might be up 10%. Business might slow 10% or 15%. If I do all this, do I still make a profit? Does this still leave me with something? Does this work? And if you run your models and you've used all the energy you can, and it still works and it makes sense and whatever, then you got to do something, dog, because that's what the game is. There's no such thing as being in business and having zero risk. There's always risk involved. The question comes down to how much risk are you willing to take? The way I answer that is, how much of a reward am I going to get? Right? And if I'm not going to get a massive award, I'm not going to like 5x, 20x, 30x, then I'm more focused on how much money I'm losing. I don't know if that made sense or not. Like basically what I'm trying to say is, if I have an opportunity to make $1 million and I only have to put 1% down to make that bet, and the probability is 50-50, oh, I'm doing it all day, right? But that's not how the world works. Those probabilities don't work. What works is, hey, I'm about to buy this apartment complex. okay, rents have been pretty stable here. Maybe if they drop here and this goes up and this goes up, and I buy it here and I put this much money in, I put this, does this still make sense? It does, because eventually rates will come down. I'll be able to refinance. Rents will eventually go up. Oh, okay. Okay, so this is what I think my worst case downside is. Okay, can I live with that? That means I lose this money. This money will be gone. If I miscalculated, I messed up, this is what I lose. Okay, and if I win, I could win here, I could do this. I'll take that bet. And that's how my brain works. And I'm not saying I'm right or I'm wrong. I think you should view it. That's one way you should view it. You should also still view it your way and maybe someone else's you learned. But my way is always risk versus reward. And, I plan for a lot of downside. And my numbers pretty conservative. But the reality is, guys, is eventually you are going to have to take risk if you want to be in business. And there's never a good time. There's never a good time. You think COVID was a good time? You think right now is a good time? Even 2018, before COVID, before all that, 2019, we were heading into a recession. That wasn't a good time. 2007 wasn't a good time. The dot-com collapse wasn't a good time. After the collapse in 2012, when rates went low and all that, and people were still uncertain because we didn't know if it was the end of it, that wasn't a good time. There's never really a great time. Like, wow, gee golly, everything is just perfect. There's always something to worry about. There's always something, but that's what makes it competitive. That's why we do this. We love the challenge. We love the, I could do it. Let's figure this thing out. And as far as stocks go, I would just stick to your core competency. I wouldn't buy something that you don't understand or whatever, unless you're just messing around with some money and doing option calls, that's whatever. But if you're truly investing, you only need to dedicate yourself to maybe 4 or 5 companies that you really understand. Maybe you work for them. Maybe you're in that industry they're in and they're a major competitor or whatever, and you really get it, you understand it. Just stick with that. And if you don't have time for any of that, just buy the S&P and just follow it. You know what I mean? It's really not super, super complicated. It requires energy and effort from your end to learn as much as you can to try to make the best decision you can. Same thing's going to go if you ever buy your house. Same thing's going to go when you buy a car. Anything in your life, anything that you put effort and energy into that you actually give a shit about, you're probably going to do okay. And look, mistakes are going to be made, and that's okay. You don't want to live your whole freaking life so scared that you don't ever do anything, and then you're like, wow, I'm 50 now, and I had an opportunity when I was freaking 35, 40 to do something, and I kind of just held out. But everyone's personality is different. I'm not saying go out there and take the leap of faith. I'm saying you should listen to advice, but at the end of the day, it's your life, and you got to make your own decision, right? And, with the way everything's headed, we might go a little bit lower, but do your work, man. See if it pencils out for you. Because if you buy something today at a discount because rates are 8, 9%, of course the value of whatever you bought, whatever you invested in, is going to go up by 20, 30, 40% 3 to 4 years from now once rates come back down. And where do I think rates are going to settle? In all honesty, I think rates are going to settle between the 5 to 6.5 range. I don't personally see a scenario where we go below 5% or 3% or 2% again. I just don't. I think we tried it. I think we've seen the dangers of inflation, and I don't think it's smart for us to go back there. Now that's another conversation where how did inflation get out of the bottle? Because we did quantitative easing and we kept inflation low for a very long time. I would argue yes and no, because it didn't take a genius to see asset prices were climbing insane in 16, 17, 18, 19. They were climbing like crazy before we injected the capital for COVID. I just think it was a matter of time before it all blew up anyways. It just happened to shake out the way it is now. And honestly, guys, and being all honest and just really giving you my true raw thoughts, it's really not as bad as we think. This environment, it's bad. It's getting bad. It might get a little bit worse, but it's still not as bad of a situation as it could be. It's still not Great Depression bad. And you got to believe in a better tomorrow too, man. That's another psychology of an investor or just as a human, man. Like, yeah, things are bad, but they're not going to be bad forever. Like, there's opportunities here, man. We're going to make some shit out of this, man. We're going to see better days, and we will see better days. So you can't just be all doom and gloom all the time. Otherwise, that just makes for a dull life. It's like, damn, dog, everything's going to be negative forever? Nothing's going to get better? There's no upside ever? Nah, I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I just believe you got to take your best shot when you can. And I think you're smart enough. If you listen this far, it means you give a shit about your future. It means you care about investing. It means you care about making generational wealth. And if you gave me this much time, I know you're probably giving yourself this much time to look at whatever deal you're looking at, whatever stock you're looking at. You're going to be all right. Don't let everyone else psych you out, man. Aliens. Screw it. I got to talk about it now. I gave you guys as much advice as I can. Now I got to get the fun stuff off. One, I was a little bit paranoid, man. Like, I hope the stuff I share, at first I was like, man, if I start sharing this stuff, you think people are going to think I'm crazy? Like, oh man, that Johal guy, he was talking about finance. I'm talking about aliens now. What the hell is going on? And then I was like, you know what? Fuck them. I'm going to post and talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about, right? If I want to talk about fucking aliens, I'm going to post about aliens. But, I don't know, man. The shit that just really, I guess the shit that really just bugs me is, like, I just literally spent 30 minutes talking about the economy and our future and interest rates, but, and I totally forgot about aliens until I was like, oh, what else can I talk about? Should I end it? I was like, oh shit, I said aliens, you know? And I was like, oh shit, yeah, we just fucking said that they're real. The Pentagon's released information long before this. Reports have came out, and, you know, one of my really good friends, who's a fighter pilot, says he saw them with his own eyes. Like, he's like, bro, we literally sent the video up, and I don't know what the hell it is. Now, part of me always still thinks, oh, that's American ace in the hole, and they want to be so hush-hush about it. They're like, oh, you guys could talk about it, whatever, because everyone knows it's so cliche, it's so crazy to talk about that. Even if we mention it, no one's really going to care. Versus if we try to hide it, maybe people would be like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? What's going on over there, huh? You know, but if we just leave it out in the open, like, oh yeah, there it is, whatever, we got them. Maybe no one trips about it, and everyone's just like, oh, okay, cool. I don't know, man, and it just all, like, I'm in awe because even if you're presented with, and this is where that disinformation thing really comes in, where it's like, I think our society globally has just been mentally destroyed. Because even when you're presented with the facts of something, you probably still think it's misinformation. You probably have distrust. And I think that's the point we're at. And it's kind of sad. And, you know, a lot of people make a lot of good points about, you know, we're not ready for it and whatever. And maybe we're not. I mean, to me, the thing that's been really shocking is it makes me question, you know, my existence. It makes me question, like, why are we, like, you know, why are we here? Like, we're created, and, like, you know, I have a kid on the way, and it's due in September, and I'm like, oh man, this kid is being, like, made from DNA, and it's going to be a living thing. It's going to be like, you know, it's no different than an animal or anything else. Like, it's all like, you know, the, like, species wise. And it just makes me think, like, what is this life? Like, is there more than just investing and making some money and having a great time, which I love, by the way, laughing and that, or is this just it? And then it, you know, then it obviously it's hard to bring up a different light force without questioning God and questioning your beliefs and questioning everything you've known, you know, your whole mental composition, like how you viewed the world, like way everything was. Like, if it comes out that we were just genetically modified by another intelligent life force, like millions of years ago, just because, like, an experiment, not that it makes me feel small or anything, because it's not about me. It's like, we're all in this together. We're all humans, right? If anything, it makes me feel more connected to my fellow brothers and sisters out there. But it just kind of shocks you because I guess a lot of people, and I don't know what happens when we die, and that's eventually what I'm trying to get at, right? Like, I always believe that when you die, your soul would just be, I feel like your soul is like an energy. It's like released when you die. It's your conscience. That's something special in you, and you get reunited with God. That's what I truly believe, and it makes me think like, no, that's not it. It's just like if we were just genetically modified, you just die, and that's it. It's just death, and it kind of makes sense because it's weird to think about because think about where we're headed, where like Elon's working on Neuralink and working on these robots, and essentially we get into the age-old question of like, what is consciousness? Like, what is me talking to you, my feelings, my emotions, my memories, my composition, my everything? If I could just fucking upload it into another robot, and I'm still me right now, I'm having all these experiences, the way I'm feeling everything, I'm whatever, all this is real, it's just not in this meat suit. Is that what true intelligence is? Because we haven't been able to figure out the brain deteriorates, and we really just die from old age. We die from our cells not being able to regenerate as fast as they once did. That's where aging process takes in. But like, who am I? Am I also just a piece of consciousness? And if that consciousness, is that what really true life is? To feel, to think, to cry, to have all of that? If that could just be uploaded into a robot or uploaded into whatever you want to call it, that is me. I've left this meat suit. And I know like the Christian Bible and stuff talks a lot about flesh and the flesh burning and everything. Like, we're just meat suits in a sense, and we're supposed to be for a higher purpose. And it makes me question religion. Like, maybe religion was put here. There was it's not to say they were prophets, but they were like our creators that like just guided us, and they're like, oh, they'll figure it out and it will be back. And to them, it's like time is like a blink of an eye. And for us, it's been millennia, And then I started thinking about like the complexity of the world and like how rare it is for us to even be alive. Like, how many things that weren't in our control had to be right in order for me and you to be born. Not just like, not just like I shot out of my daddy's nutsack, I'm the one that won over the billions of others. Like, I fucking damn beat it to the egg. But more of like how the temperature had to be a certain way, how the climate had to be a certain way, how even our moon pulls and the waves, and just like, is it all coincidence? I don't know. And for me, before I found out about, like, these are just thoughts that I would have, just because I'm crazy like that, and I just start thinking about weird shit like that sometimes, and I do a lot of like self-reflecting of like who I am as a person. Like, I want to be better, and I know I mess up sometimes. I know I'm not perfect. I'm not, the perfect husband. I'm not the perfect friend. I'm not the perfect brother. I'm not the perfect cousin. But I want to be better, and I sit back and I have to reflect on like, man, maybe I said things wrong. Maybe I did things wrong. What can I do? I'm always trying to improve. And then so in all that, it's like, why? And I start thinking about like, why do you want to be better? Like, are you trying to, prove something to somebody? Is it just for yourself? Is that what's making you happy? Like, and what is happiness? Is it just a state? Is it just a level of like this? Is it just dopamine? Is it just literally dopamine in the back of the brain that gets released? And that's all it is. And why is it okay to only get that certain times? Like, why not, do you want it all the time? Like, where is all this? See how it just starts spiraling a little bit? Like, you just start, it just goes deeper and deeper, and you just start thinking more and more about it. And it's not even like the fucking aliens would have the answers. I'm not looking to anyone for answers. I guess you're trying to just like figure yourself out. And you never really truly do ever figure yourself out. You just enjoy moments of your life. And I truly believe that. And, that's what it is. Memories make you happy. You think back to the time you got to, the first time you kissed your significant other, or the first time you or the last time you hung out with your friends, or the last time you got drunk with the boy, all that stuff. Like those are memories, and then you think back and those release little dopamine hits. So it's not like I'm saying I want to get into a constant state, but it just makes you think like if there's more out there. I guess it's just the curiosity. Let's just chop it all up. It's just the curiosity. It's like I want to know more than what is seen or what is shown in front of us, and that's why I think I can't stop thinking about it, and I don't think I ever will, because it's like it's down that, and it's fun sometimes, right? It's fun, and don't get me wrong, I'm still rooted in reality. Like I'm still, there's still a lot of things I want to get done on Earth, baby. And why do I want to get those things done on Earth? Because I love reaching goals. I'm a goal setter. I feel like we're on this earth to create, and I look at business as like happiness. I don't look at it like, oh my God, I just want to go and make $1 million. Of course I want to make $1 million. Of course it'll be fun to buy another watch or whatever. But after the watches, after whatever, it's just, I think it'd be so cool to create something where I could help people get employed, and they could, raise a family on, they could be proud of, and we're contributing something. And we did something more than just me. I did something more than just live, shit, and eat and sleep. Right? That's why I really enjoy it. And it just gives me like this rush. I'm like, yeah, let's get it done. Like, that's so cool. Like, you can look back on it and be like, man, 36 months of my life, 60 months of my life, I worked 12 hours a day at this thing, and look at this thing now, man. We got this thing doing this and this and that, and I think that's super cool. But, that's where I find like joy, like purpose. But then it's also like, I also, of course, I love watching a movie. I love just hanging out with people and just enjoying the company. But then, there's always that part of you that when you're alone and you start thinking about, your mortality. I do think about mortality a lot. That's why I think a lot of the time I also play for legacy, because it's like, I think every person wants to be remembered by the ones they loved, and maybe by the community that they're in, for like, hey, it's a way for you to end quotes live forever, in a sense, right? And maybe that's egotistical in itself. It's like, what makes you think you're so fucking great that you're going to be remembered forever, But it's like, my response to that would be like, well, what else is the point of all this? I guess it's a game to me, right? I find joy in it. Like, I'm like, yeah, let's go play it. Why not? It's better than just sitting around and doing fucking nothing, right? You got to at least try, you know what I'm saying? And with all that being said, it's like, then you got these fucking aliens that show up, and it's just like, oh, what the fuck? It just throws everything off, And the thing that really bothers me is like how they belittle us a little bit or patronize us a little bit, like the government in itself. And I get it. Not everybody can handle it. I mean, Jesus Christ, look what happened when we fucking announced COVID. Everybody and their mom was lined up to get fucking toilet papers and shit. So I'm not saying every single fucking human being is smart. But it's also like, it's been a while. I think we are fairly educated. It's like, shit, we would like to know what the hell is going on. If you got this tech, like, I mean, how can we say that it's an unidentified object and China's not claiming it, India's not claiming it, Japan's not claiming it, no one's claiming it, and we're looking through it and we're trying to map things, we're trying to do things with it, and it just fascinates me. So it's like, well, because here's the truth. From what everybody has said, like these little Tic Tac things could move 1,000 miles an hour, stop at the drop of a hat, could jump up, could jump down, could move. Bro, they would fucking obliterate any fucking city. There's nothing we could do to stop them. Like if Japan had that, if China had that, if India had that, they would fucking slap the fuck out of us with that shit. They'd be like, yeah, big bad America, what? Yeah, no, we run this shit now, bitch. And air superiority from a war standpoint is fucking everything. If you got something that can stay off the ground but can go very low to the ground, shoot up, shoot down, maneuver quick, in, out, in, there's nothing you could do to stop it. And it sounds like it's self-propelled, that it has self-energy, it's self-sustained. If it had some type of weapon on it, it could fucking run through and crush whatever. Even if it didn't, I'm sure you could put a weapon on it. And you could just strategically pick out supply chains, routes, railroads, whatever, and you could cripple a fucking country. Like, you would probably need 100 of those things, and you could just take down whatever you wanted to take down. And that's the danger of it. And it shocks me that no superpower has said it's mine. And that's what gives me pause to think like, oh shit, okay, if it's not a superpower, where the fuck did it come from, and who's, or what's in it, or is it unmanned? Was it like some other Space Force that sent this as like a rover mission, and that's all it is. I don't know. I mean, a lot of people look at it as negative, like, oh my God, this could be the end of the world. Oh my God. It could be a great thing. It could be that we find this tech and we literally make like a fucking quantum leap and we could solve, a lot of our problems. Like maybe we figure out a way to capture CO2 and now we don't have emissions problems. Maybe there's a way we could figure out technology-wise to dispose of plastics so we don't have a problem. Maybe we could cure Alzheimer's. Maybe we could stop the aging process and get an extra 100 years out of life before we die. Maybe we learn how to upload consciousness. And some people decide to stay on Earth and just be humans and live and die. That's what they want to do. Some people hop on a plane and go on a freaking Star Trek journey and we start, doing whatever. I don't know. And that's the thing that's really just like been making me question and whatever. And it's fun to ponder and whatever. But it also makes me feel like if it was really that big, it would be all over the news, all over. I just don't think it's big enough yet because like it's only been a few of these things that have crashed. And I don't know. I think... And another take is I know we bash government a lot, and I know that we distrust politicians for obvious reasons and stuff. But at the end of the day, man, it's just all our government is just our people. It's just people that we have given power for in our civilization to go ahead and make bigger decisions for us. And I have to believe that not every single person's a piece of shit that's in government, bro. I really do. I do have to believe that. I think a majority, and when I say majority, probably like 60% plus, are decent people that actually give a shit about you and me, that don't want to see people suffer. And, I've worked for big government organizations, and I would say a majority of them were good people, and they genuinely cared for the public. And of course, you have the assholes there. I mean, there's assholes in anything you do, right? But I do think they are having our best interest in mind because our best interest is their interest. It's not like the aliens were coming that they were going to save their family and just kill everybody else, right? It's just maybe they do know a lot and they're just waiting to introduce it the right way or say it the right way. I saw this thing on the Rogan thing, and I'll end it there because just to put everything I said in perspective a little bit, he said if we would have bought back a nuclear fusion bomb and showed it to people in like the 1600s or the 1500s, they would have yelled witchcraft and tried to burn us to a stake. And like, I guess like it's kind of weird, right? Like now that we're able to share phones, we're able to rapidly share information. It kind of makes me think it was done for a reason because we've been event driven. We've been, oh, look, there's this massive shooting in Vegas. Oh, my God. Oh, it's crazy. That's crazy. Everyone's apart. And then, boom, it just moves on to the next story, the next cycle, the next whatever. The news cycle gets quicker and quicker and quicker, and our attention span gets less and less and less. So then when these little things start coming out, like a UFO hearing, oh, no big deal. Oh, hey, we have officially made contact with the UFO. Oh, okay, no big deal, because right with it, they launch another news cycle with Biden or something else. And it's like, wait, what? We made contact with the what? But like we've already been conditioned. And that's our generation. That's my generation. That's the 90s babies. It might be in 20 years, like when it's our true time to rule. Because right now we're ruling shit. We're running shit. But eventually our true time comes to rule when we actually got the money. We actually got everything settled. We got grandkids coming. And we're used to this quickness. And when the stuff comes out, we'll be more prepared for it. That's, possibility. It's just going to be fascinating, man. And, if I see cool stuff, I post it. I promise I'm not going to, try to, overdo it and make my whole page into a fucking alien conspiracy theory page or whatever. I guess you can't even call it a conspiracy because it's true. But, if I see something cool, I'll post it. I know it's the hype right now. It just came out this week. So, but, yeah, these were my raw thoughts, man. This is something I would share with my, very close friends. This is the conversation. Obviously, I would hear what they had to say back. I'm just talking into a damn camera, but I've kind of let you in my personal space here. So if you made it this far, man, I freaking appreciate you listening, and I appreciate the support. And yeah, Oppenheimer was sick as fuck, and I definitely recommend that movie. And yeah, I definitely think that, and then the Freedom movie, Sounds of Freedom, was really good too. Blockbusters this year have not been that bad. Movies have not been that bad this year. I'm debating on doing movie reviews. I don't know. I go to the movies a lot. It only takes 5 minutes, but I guess, I mean, I'm not embarrassed to shoot this because I love doing this, but I feel like if I do that, I don't know. I don't know if, I guess I'm a little bit shy. I don't know if I want to, and that's why I'm fucking lazy. I'm like, when I just watch the movie, I'm like, I just want to chill. I don't want to go fucking make a video. Contrary to popular belief, even though I love doing this does take fucking effort and time and energy and away from the people that I love, and I want to spend time with them. And that's why I'm trying to be more consistent with the videos and posting, but it's tough, man. It's tough because life happens, especially now that I got the kiddo on the way. Like, I have to cut time out to do this. And so I view this more as a hobby. And yeah, I don't really give a shit if I get 2 or 3 listens because it's like, I just really fucking enjoy it. Anyways, I just went on a fucking big ass rant there. So sorry, guys. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. If you made it this far, come on, dog. Share this with one person. Let them know it's dope. Or maybe you fucking hate it and this is the last time you ever listen. If that's the case, well, I'm sorry. But I hope you learned something at least from the first half of this thing. So, yeah, drop a comment, man, if you can, wherever you're seeing this. And DM me on Instagram or on Twitter. Definitely follow me on Twitter, Johal_Capital. But, yeah, DM me there and let me know what you thought about the pod. If there's anything else that you want me to discuss, that I'll look into it before the next one. I'm trying to drop these on Thursdays and have them ready, like upload them Thursday night, have them ready for you guys on Friday. But, I got to get more consistent with it, man. Anyways, thanks for listening, man. Thanks. Peace.